Hey, welcome everyone. It's Heroscape here today with a much anticipated video, Age of Annihilation and why it failed. Going to be kind of a two-part video today where we cover initially all the facts, what we know about why it failed, and then more of the soapbox stuff, my opinions, my feelings, overall about the campaign and kind of how it was handled. A shout out to the War Council. Remember, the War Council were essentially the designers of the game, right? We had a lot of members of the community who were primarily, members that we had known, and they spent a lot of their time the last year helping design those designs. And so just want to make sure that they know their time and effort is appreciated. Now, when it comes to the failures, I need to be very clear that I hold the failures entirely on the Avalon Hill team. And I'm just being completely honest. Avalon Bill and Carmine, Patrick, even Craig Van Ness, and whoever else is on their team. The failures stand on their shoulders alone. So without further ado, let's jump into it by starting with Avalon Hill's statement, official statement, the day after the campaign failed. So let's read that and go from there. So this is the officially released statement by the Avalon Hill team. To all the fans of Heroscape, as the deadline for the Heroscape Age of Annihilation Vanguard Edition HasLab project, we are short of the goal needed to start production on this wonderful game. No doubt you are disappointed in the results. We are too. The anticipation for this project among the Avalon Hill staff was great. We spent months preparing for the campaign, and once launched, we worked hard to gain the support of every single backer who pledged. And it didn't go without notice that you did the same. So many of you worked hard to help spread the word of our campaign. You offered us your honest feedback, let us know where we may have missed the mark in some places and where we were succeeding. Your involvement in this project was incredible, and we feel lucky to have found such an amazing community of folks who all share the love of this unique and thrilling skirmish battle game. The passion we felt from you was truly an inspiration that kept pushing us to improve the campaign as best we could. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for sharing that passion with us. We also want to extend a huge thank you to the Heroscapers who came aboard to help us create this project. Your work on this game was absolutely unbelievable, and we know how hard it was for you to keep your involvement a secret in those early days. Sincerely, this wouldn't have been the same without you, and we appreciate everything you brought to the table. So with that being said, no doubt the big question is to everyone in everyone's mind is what's next for Heroscape? Our unfortunate answer is nothing. As we said before the campaign, if this project doesn't meet its goal, we won't be able to produce Age of Annihilation. That has not changed. Heroscape as a project will be shelved, and there are no current plans to attempt a resurrection at this time. The Avalon Hill team will refocus our efforts on the exciting games we currently have coming soon, such as the next Heroscape game system expansion, Mage of Mirror, or the upcoming Yawning Portal D&D strategy board game. What we did take away from this campaign was a great deal of learning, and for that we have you to thank. We hope you remain as passionate, as devoted, and as vocal with all our future endeavors so that we create, to the best of our abilities, the games you love. So, that's the official statement. Kind of stings. To be honest, when I read that, I thought to myself, the gall to mention your other games. We don't give a crap, to be honest. We cared about Heroscape. So why, in an official statement, are you trying to turn us to your other games? We absolutely have nothing to do with those games. In addition, that last paragraph talked about the learning. Well, I'm glad that we were your guinea pigs, Avalon Hill. Appreciate that. Glad that Heroscape failed so that you could learn. Well, now let's cover the facts of what they learned in this failure. Fact number 1, economy. The economy has been in shambles for the last few years. In fact, inflation's been the worst it's ever been in the last 40 years. Specifically in the last 2 years, 2021 and 2022, it's been the highest it's been since 2012. And this project was started in 2021. So if you're going to bring a game back that you already know is going to be difficult to do, why would you ever do it in the middle of the worst economic downturn in the history of the US? Terrible idea. Additionally on that is the timing. Think about the time of year. On November 15th, if it funded, you'd be charging people's bank's account that day for all the money for everything to be produced. But when are they getting the product? Not till the following year. So you're going to charge people in November when they're starting to think about Christmas season and presents, and you're going to drain their bank accounts right before that hits, but they're not getting the product till the next year. It would have been much more timely to do it somewhere around April when everyone gets their tax returns and they can spend a little extra money putting in to something like this and wait a full year. Not when they're already going to be draining their bank accounts for Christmas presents. I find it very interesting that on November 14th, the day before Heroscape crowdfunding ends, the Hasbro stock got slashed, absolutely slashed. I think that had a huge factor in their decision to do anything with Heroscape, because they just got jacked up. And we'll read, I want to just show you the article that talks about this. As you can see here in the Wall Street Journal, November 14th, Hasbro stock drops after analyst downgrade. Shares of Hasbro dropped Monday after Bank of America analysts downgraded the stock from buy to underperform, making it one of the day's biggest losers on the S&P 500. The stock was recently off about 9% to below $58 as broader markets ticketed higher. Hasbro cut its price target on the shares to $42 from $72. Now you can't see it, the rest of the article there, but I read a separate article that said they dropped it from 72 to 42, citing concerns that they weren't taking care of the longevity of their product line, Magic the Gathering, because they've been overprinting their cards and basically devaluing a lot of those cards. So the day before Heroscape ends its campaign, they get this massive blow in the stock. So any hopes of Heroscape still making a comeback, even without funding officially, were basically blown up because of this. Something else to talk about is a conversation I had with Carmine on the Discord, and he was talking about the tooling that's needed. And I'll just show you the brief conversation here in a second. So in this brief conversation with Carmine, he says, back in October, I put a proposal together today to attempt a full line without the crowdfunding, but that will be a major uphill battle internally if this doesn't fund. Full line, I ask, i.e. fund bringing Heroscape back even if it doesn't fund? That's interesting. Yes, but it requires me to find about $750,000 for tooling. Oh my. You see, that is what the HasLab pays for, a tooling library for Heroscape. Right. Makes sense. So right there, and Carmine, $750,000, $750,000. How much did we raise you? We raised you over $1 million. In what world does over $1 million not fund a board game, a miniature game, any crowdfunded campaign? In what world? I mean, we did an amazing thing. And there he said himself, he only needed $750,000 to fund the tooling to make Heroscape. So why $2 million? Why $2 million? And if we hit over $1 million, where's that extra going? Is that just profit? I don't know. Sure, I guess, cool. If that's profit, whatever, your business. But if it's truly to get the game back and the minimum payout is $750,000 for the tooling, then shouldn't that be the goal? I don't know. We can ask questions all day long. We won't know all the answers. But I'm scratching my head on that one. Number 2 is marketing. Marketing was atrocious for this campaign. I'm sorry, I'm being honest. Okay? When we talk about marketing, there was no rule book on Go Live Day. There was no playthrough videos. And there's a lot of new mechanics, right? And a lot of people who are trying to buy into the game don't even know what this game is. Okay, there were no contents. We had an idea of what we were getting, but we had no official content list. A lot of the playtesting wasn't even finished in the designs, so they couldn't even share some of those playtesting designs with people. You know, that's basic stuff. Like the actual contents weren't even finalized by the go live of the campaign. So when you had the website or when you had the campaign details, the marketing was awful because there was literally, I mean, you're flying blind, right? You're buying something, you don't even know what you're buying. And so that was a big thing. The other thing was a lot of the content creators didn't get out videos, weren't even provided with the content until weeks after. And that was only because we as a community gave that feedback. And this is just the truth. Like, playthrough videos on big content creators came out weeks into the campaign. And that was because we were vocal. In fact, like the rulebook, the playthrough videos, the content lists, the showing the terrain images, all that was added to the campaign because we told them to. We said, what are you doing? You guys have, you gotta have this information for people who are buying this game. And so we provided that feedback, and to their credit, they added it. But that's brain dead stuff. You gotta have that day one. In a 45-day campaign, you gotta be able to have that day one. You can't have it day 25. For example, a lot of these content creators had stuff out like the week before, and we saw a huge boost in people funding because they had 400, 500,000 subscribers on their channels. They have this massive audience of people that they watch their videos, and that's huge. But you only gave them a week to see the video, let alone make a decision to purchase a game they might not know about, or they might know about. And so the marketing was just atrocious, and it didn't really entice new players, right? It enticed the current player set. And I think this can be evidenced by a conversation between Carmine and Patrick that Carmine talked to me about in conversation on Discord. Carmine says to me, I can tell you where it hurts Patrick and I the most, and see this conversation. I feel like we are letting a bunch of fans down, and that breaks my heart. We made exactly what we wanted, a dedicated fan base that we can speak directly to. They just are not big enough yet. Yeah, bummer. Big enough yet? Like physically? Actual numbers? Actual numbers. Our hypothesis was that the Heroscape community was larger than the HeroQuest community. So that just boils my blood. When you think about it, the center of marketing is knowing your audience. It's doing market research. There's a reason it's called market research. So that you know what your audience is like. You know what the demand is. And they just assumed that our community was larger than HeroQuest. But again, you made an assumption. You assumed that the current Heroscape community would get you past the 8,000 mark. Where did you get that number? Where did you get 8,000 numerically? Because it sure as heck sounds like you're using a lot of qualitative data. We made a hypothesis. We thought it was larger. Well, the HeroQuest community is, a 30-year-old game. Heroscape's only 12 years old. So sure, I guess, there's that, right? Heroscape is a newer game. But for crying out loud, you can't just make assumptions. Like, the marketing has to have actual numbers so that you know that you're getting your money back. And so for me, I'm just like, if you're going to bring Heroscape back, you got to be able to have some foundational information to market to the correct audience. And clearly, they didn't have that. Number 3 is the actual campaign setup. You had a one buy-in, $250 for everything. Now, simple? Sure. Great value? Absolutely. You're getting a ton of stuff for $250. Flexible? Reasonable? Not even close. Not even close. There's a reason why you pay attention to your competitors, right? Look at Kickstarter. Look at Simon Games. The best in its space for Kickstarter miniature games. You have to know what your competitors do and how they do it and how they do it well. And you have to be able to copy that. You have to be able to reproduce the success, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? If there's a certain way of doing something that is effective, then using that model isn't a bad thing, especially if you've done it before, and they did. Look at HeroQuest. They told us they were going to look at HeroQuest and do it just like HeroQuest. And then they turned around and didn't do it anything like HeroQuest. Absolutely not even the same. HeroQuest had 2 tiers, $100, $150. You had the base heroic tier, the base set. You had the mythic tier, right? Your base set plus the expansions. Very simple, easy to buy in at 100. Even easier if you had a little extra money to buy in for all in at 150. Okay, plus stretch goals and whatnot. Not unreasonable at all for the Heroscape community. especially for a game, again, that's been dead. You're trying to convince people to get their foot in the door. But they just assumed that the current Heroscape community, the people willing to shell out $250, was going to be over 8,000. And so that's where they screwed up. But they needed a tiered system. They needed a $100 buy-in where you get, half the figures and maybe half the terrain. And then you needed add-ons. You needed to Call of Jungle that they did, just make it $50 as an add-on. The walls, make it $50 as an add-on, right? Do a figures only for someone who already has a ton of terrain and they don't want the extra terrain. Do a figures only for $60 or $70, whatever that is. Do a terrain only pack so people can buy tons of terrain if they really want the terrain, and make that $100 for the full terrain set. So I can just buy terrain if I want. I don't have to buy the figures. Maybe I hate all the figures and don't like the designs. I just want terrain because maybe I'm a D&D player, but sure, I'll help the game come back. I want terrain. That's money left on the table, right? That's money left on the table. Myself, I backed 2 times, but I had more than $500, but I didn't have enough for $750. So that's money on the table that they didn't get from me, right? Because I spent $500 for 2 sets, but I had somewhere around, I think, 650, something like that. So I could have spent an additional $50, $100 on other add-ons, but there weren't any. And so that's money on the table that I didn't spend, that they could have gotten from me and other people. The setup of the campaign was incredibly flawed. It had to be a tiered system. It has to be. That is a proven model that every Kickstarter, every crowdfunding campaign has ever done in the history of ever that has succeeded. Is there's tiers for people to buy in. There's add-ons so people can get as much or as little as they want. And it allows for people that might be a little bit tighter on funds to get a little bit, or people that have a lot of money, big whales that want to spend a ton, can spend as much as they want. That's the other thing. They limited each order to 5 orders. 5 orders. Why would you ever put a cap on how much someone can order of something? You're trying to make as much money as possible. Never put a restriction on what someone can buy. Ever. And they put a cap at 5. So that just makes no sense. So, economy, terrible economy to launch this thing in. The marketing, atrocious. Didn't get the word out, didn't have the content set up. Tier system, not at all set up in a structure that was able to succeed. Those are the facts. That is why Age of Annihilation failed. And that is the Avalon Hill team. Not the War Council, not the Heroscapers. The Avalon Hill team. That is squarely on their shoulders. I hold you accountable, Avalon Hill. That is on you. And now for the soapbox. So, I'm going to get into my own opinions on a few things. Feel free to obviously share in the comments your own ideas and thoughts on, well, the facts as well as my soapbox opinions. But anyway, here we go. So one of the biggest issues I have is the messaging. The messaging from the start to the fans was, Heroscape is back. You'll remember my videos showing on heroscapers.com. In fact, it's still up, the page announcement that says, Heroscape is back. There's no stipulations, there's no conditions, but an announcement telling the fan base, your beloved game is back. And that's my issue, is that it buttered us up. There was this false sense of security that we were given because they announced it as coming back. And in reality, the campaign was holding us hostage, saying, well, give us your money and fund it, because if you don't, then it's gone. And we're sitting here like, well, why are you bringing it back? Like, why are you playing with us, man? Why bring it back at all if you can't fund it yourself? And so that was very irritating. Because Hasbro's a massive company. If you're gonna bring the game back because of the fans, you have the money, then bring it back, okay? If you really can't bring it back and you need the funds and you need to make a cash grab and you need to raise as much money as possible, then why would you do it in the way that you did it, right? I mean, you think about it, honestly, if you're in a position where you have to get as much money as possible in order for Heroscape to come back, then I don't care what you have to do, make a cash grab. Do it. I'll send you my money, whatever it takes to get Heroscape back. In my opinion, I don't think it makes sense for them to do anything new. If I were them, they've already got the models. Reprint the originals. The original game stands on its own. The fan base loves the game. And the people that are new to Heroscape can still love the game as it stands. Why do we need to convince people of a new Age of Annihilation? See, because if you create something new, you have to convince the current fan base that that new thing is just as pretty, if not better, than their current thing. And for any new player, you have to convince them that not only is it just as good or better than the originals, so that they don't have to get the originals, but that they should buy all in on this thing. And so it just makes no sense to me that if you're going to bring it back for the fans, then just bring it back. But don't announce it to us as if it's just going to come back. Be transparent, be upfront and say, it's only coming back if you guys can help us get there. Then at least from the get-go, we know what to expect and we can help out from the get-go. And so that was a big issue. Like, honestly, if I were them, make a cash grab, reprint everything, reprint commons. Don't even do Age of Annihilation. Just say Heroscape is being reprinted. Boom. You would have so much money pouring through your coffers because so many people would buy the reprints. Okay, fine. Maybe you don't do reprints. Maybe you do something new like Age of Annihilation. Then do commons. Unique packs duplicate themselves the minute you buy a second one. They made the same exact mistake that they did with the original Heroscape. They did the same exact thing. Take a minute and think about that for a second. Rise the Valkyrie. You had 10 Raylans. They did the same thing. The same exact thing. They created a set that I have to pay $250 for, and that if I want to buy multiples of, because of course I want extra terrain. Because why not? I'm going to have duplicate figures. They did the same exact thing. The same mistake. They haven't learned anything in 12 years. And that's on Avalon Hill. 100%. And it infuriated me when I first saw that. I was just like, are you kidding me? Have we learned nothing in 12 years? You never package uniques with commons. Commons being terrain. Terrain is a common part of Heroscape. And so that is just like beyond me. I don't know where their heads are when it comes to that idea. But something else that you can do is merch, right? Cups, mugs, shirts. Why not have that on the side, right? Why not have something cheap where some dude that can't spend $100 on even the base set could spend $20 on a t-shirt? Sweet. Hey, even upcharge it. Make it $30. Upcharge it again. Make it 35, 40, whatever. If it's a cool official Heroscape t-shirt, sure, the guy that can't spend $100 on Heroscape to bring it back might spend the 35. That's 35 more bucks than you had before. From some random dude that maybe didn't have enough for the game, but said, hey, heck, I love this game. I do want to support it. I don't have money for the whole thing now, but here's a few, bucks on the end. You got to have something, right? A mug, a keychain, some sort of merchandise on the side that provides any level of participation from anyone. So, again, my personal feelings. But yeah, the hype pre-campaign was awesome. The hype after was non-existent. The only thing that we saw from them were the postings of, hey, we're at this convention. Oh, hey, here's an article. Oh, hey, here's an article. Hey, check out this article. Hey, check out this video. And it's like, cool, yeah, great. Would have been great if those were available day one. But again, I just felt like the messaging just was handled incorrectly. I also wanted to point out this comment from Avalon Bill on the day of the campaign ending. Before that hits, though, I just want to say thanks to everyone in this community for the love and support you gave us. Suffice to say, everyone is disappointed in the results, but I am glad I was introduced to this game, and to all of you, legit, I've never been a part of a community as passionate and as respectful as you all have been, so seriously, thank you. And to be clear, this campaign is over, and we're not secretly going to produce AOA anyway. But this team does have a love for Heroscape, and if there's ever a chance for something to happen in the future, you better believe we'll take it seriously. Now, well-intentioned, but seriously, that last line, you better believe we'll take it seriously. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me, man. You just admitted that you guys didn't take it seriously this first time around. I don't trust you, Avalon Bill. I'm sorry. Now, I'm being very passionate about this in somewhat of a negative way, I'll admit. And I guess, maybe that's not very constructive, but I've shared facts about what we know they failed on. I've shared my own opinions, but it's infuriating that the game that you love for so long, that's been dead for 12 years, that we know why it failed the first time around, and they're making the same mistakes. And then when they bring it back and they say, hey, our bad, sorry, whoops. Oh yeah, next time we'll take it seriously. Well, why didn't you take it seriously this first time around? And again, I know there was a lot of effort put in, but you missed the big stuff. Like some of the most important fundamental stuff you missed. Like, it just boggles my mind. It just boggles my mind. And so, again, I'm up on my pedestal, soapbox, spouting off my own personal opinions. But, I tried to stay positive throughout the entire campaign. And I was blinding myself to all the negativity and saying, you know what, I trust these guys. I'm going to let this thing through and I'm going to trust them. But they've lost my trust. They've lost my trust. It failed in a major way on this project. And so I don't trust it in their hands. Now, if it somehow comes back in the next year or 5, 10 years, whatever, I will still support it. But you better believe I'm going to be skeptical. You better believe I'm going to be putting their feet to the fire and making sure they're held accountable for the way that they do it again, if it even gets another chance. But that's the thing, is we never thought that Heroscape would ever get a chance. And it finally got its chance to come back, and in an epic way failed. And now it's just like, well, back to same old. Because, we got let down and failed by them again. So, anyway, deep breath. Heroscape is still active and live, and we're going to continue doing our thing. And we're going to be continue to grow and have tournaments, and it's going to be great. That's my soapbox. For those of you that stuck around, bothered to even listen to my soapbox, great, thanks. For those of you that turned off because they didn't want to hear it, that's okay too. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about it. I don't have anything else to say about it. I'm going to get back to my content and keep you guys excited about the Heroscape channel. Keep you guys excited about the things that I have planned to keep Heroscape alive and well on this channel. Again, I've got some announcements coming, hopefully in the future months, that should shift things up a little bit and change things up a little, make things exciting for this channel. So stay tuned. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. See you guys next time.